Hey guys, Mike, MBell556 here, and we're out at Bullet Creek today to do our field evaluation of this new Savage A22 22 Magnum semi-automatic rifle. Last week we did an in-shop review and we looked closely at each of the components of this rifle and gave a little brief shop evaluation. If you missed that video and want to check it out, we'll put a link up. You can open the link in a new window, look at our in-shop review, and then come right back here and pick up for our field test. Today we're going to be looking at reliability and accuracy. We were going to look at muzzle velocity, but unfortunately I forgot my chronograph, so we'll have to pick that evaluation up later. Now remember when we did our in-shop review, in the owner's manual, Savage made a point of 5 issues that they think you need to address to have optimal reliability with this firearm. And we want to make sure that we abide by those 5 recommendations so that if we have any issues with reliability, we'll know it's not our fault, that we're doing everything Savage says we need to do for optimal reliability. Now those 5 issues start with first using this A22 CCI ammunition. This is ammunition that's designed specifically for this rifle. And when we start our test, we're going to use the A22 ammunition. If we find that we have good reliability with these rounds, then we're going to use a wide variety of rounds to see if we have any issues with bullets ranging from 30 to 50 grains. So if the rifle proves to be reliable with this A22 Magnum 35 grain soft point, then we're going to try a variety of ammunition. We'll go down to 30 grains. We'll try the CCI hollow point 30 grains and the Hornady VMAX 30 grain with a ballistic tip. Then we'll go to 40 grain using this Winchester hollow point jacketed 40 grain. It's a very nice round with a really good expansion. We'll also try the CCI 40 grains both in hollow point and in the full metal jacket. Then we'll go up to 45 grains with this Winchester Dynapoint. We'll try 45 grains using the Hornady Critical Defense round. And then the maximum weight will be this 50 grain Game Shock by Federal, 50 grain hollow point. The second recommendation from Savage is to always make sure that the bolt is lightly lubricated. Don't run this rifle dry. And we have that covered. There's a very light coat of grease on the bolt that we saw when we did our in-shop review. And the third issue was making sure that your magazine is seated fully. There's a little tab on the front of the magazine. And Savage says you need to listen for an audible click when you insert the magazine. We want to make sure that this occurs. It obviously was a problem. In reading some reviews before I did this video, several people had problems with failure to feed and then later found out that the problem was that they just weren't completely seating the magazine in the rifle. Now to aid with this, we're going to always seat a magazine with the bolt held back. Okay? Remember that there is a button that we can use to hold and lock the bolt back, but there's not a bolt release. So we'll seat the magazine on an open bolt so that we don't have that resistance from that top round pushing against the bottom of the bolt. And that brings us to the fourth recommendation. The fourth recommendation from Savage was when you charge the gun, don't ride the bolt home. Now there's not a bolt release button, so you have to charge the gun by pulling the bolt back and then releasing the bolt. So we'll make sure that we don't ride the bolt home. And then the fifth recommendation was the one that I thought was a little unusual. Savage says that when you fire the gun and you pull the trigger, to keep the trigger depressed until you're sure that the gun has completely cycled. With this gun, we're going to have to pull the trigger, hold the trigger for a little delay, and then release the trigger for the second follow-up shot. If we do these 5 things, then I think that any issues we see aren't going to be from our operation. It won't be user error causing any failures. So let's just get started. I think what I'm going to do, we put this little Simmons 22 mag scope on the rifle. We need to sight that in. And what I'm going to do is, while I sight this in, I'm going to go ahead and do video recording of each round so that if we have any failures, you'll see those right up front. Okay, we have the bolt locked back. Insert the magazine to listen for the click. And then make sure we don't ride the bolt. Lock the bolt back. The gun did not fire. Let's see. There's a firing pin mark. See if we just got a dud on this A22 round. And then we'll do some adjustments. Okay, we'll adjust again. Okay, just a little bit to the left. Okay, we're out. Now what I want to do, we'll lock the bolt back, and I want to check that first round that didn't ignite. Let's go ahead and see if that will fire. Okay, so that was just maybe some of that extra grease just was blocking the firing pin initially. We'll do one more magazine with this A22. We've sighted it in a little bit now, and let's just try to do a 10-round group. So guys, this is something that's pretty interesting. When I went to load this for the first time, it seemed kind of difficult until I figured out what was going on. But this magazine has separate little cradles for each round. So when you put a round in, okay, and push it back, and this is to keep these rims from jumping over each other and causing misfires. So when I push this down, I've got to go all the way. I can't just push the round down and try to go in. I was having a hard time trying to load it. But you see that second cradle? You've actually got to push the magazine follower down, and you push the follower down, you get a separate cradle all together. So it separates these rounds as they're being loaded in the magazine. So we'll push it down. You see the edge of the follower, but you have to go past that into a separate little cradle right there. See it? And then this round gets its own little separate holding cradle so that these rims don't get all fouled up and block each other. So that was when I first went to load this, I was having a hard time pushing them in. I wasn't pushing them down far enough, and I didn't realize you had to push that cradle like that. Okay, so that's interesting. I think that besides the fact that it's a 10-round magazine, they've obviously put a lot of thought into trying to keep these rims separated. All right, we've sighted in the scope. So let's go ahead now and see what kind. We've got 10 rounds on an open bolt. Hear the click. Don't ride the charging handle. Let her fly. Here's our first group next to a penny. 10 rounds. I think I can do better than that. I think I pulled a couple of shots and it still looks a little low, so I'm going to adjust the scope up just a tiny bit, and let's do a second 10 rounds. So we've been through 20 rounds with the A22 ammo. The first round failed to ignite. That's the only issue we've had. So let's do 10 more rounds of this A22 ammo, trying to do a nice group, and then we'll try some different ammo. This is our third magazine now of 10 rounds. We'll try to do a group at 25 yards. We'll see if we have any other failures and see what kind of group we can get. Okay, let's check our group. Okay, this is our second group. About the same. So we've had 30 rounds now with no failures, except for the first round failed to ignite, and then on the second go round it did ignite, but no failure to feeds or any other problems like that. So I think at this point, let's try one magazine of each of the different bullet weights going from 30 to 50 grains. And let's see what kind of accuracy and what kind of failures we get, if we get any. This is 30 grain CCI jacketed hollow point. This is 30 grain Hornaday VMAX. This is this very nice Winchester 40 grain jacketed hollow point with a large exposed lead hollow point tip. Very good expansion. Magazine just dropped out, so I obviously did not have it seated properly. So we got a little bit in a hurry. Let's try that again. Now, we'll have to go back and look at the video. Did I hear the click? Okay, snapped in place that time. Okay, CCI 40 grain jacketed hollow point. I think I'm going to forego the full metal jacket. Generally, that's the round that will feed the best. So let's just go with the CCI 40 grain hollow point, and we'll skip the CCI 40 grain full metal jacket. Okay, putting in the magazine. Okay, now that had to push a little bit. Oh, yep. Yeah, okay, I forgot to lock my bolt back. And I noticed I had to push in a lot harder to hear that little click. It wasn't as obvious. Okay, but it is seated properly. We'll let the bolt fly. Okay, now we're getting into the heavier rounds. This is a 45 grain Winchester Dynapoint. These are kind of copper plated lead bullets that are hollow point. They don't feed in a lot of guns, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. Okay, bolts back. Okay, we heard the click. Charge the gun, and let's try these Dynapoints. Wow, that's way off. Okay, that didn't work. Let's see what happened. Okay, it did not eject. That sounded really weak. Let's try another Dynapoint, and that was way off, so that might have been a bad round. Let's see what happens. Same thing. So the 45 grain Dynapoints aren't cycling this gun. And they're not shooting close. I'm going to lock this back, and let's just try to empty that magazine out. So the 45 grain Dynapoints are a no-go in this gun. Here's another 45 grain round. This is the Critical Defense by Hornaday 45 grain with a polymer tip. The bolts back. Magazine's in place. Let's see if this 45 grain will run through this rifle. We have the 50 grain Game Shock that we want to test, but let's look at the target with these 6 rounds first, and then we'll go with the 50 grain. Okay, here's the result of our function and accuracy test. We'll start at the top. We started with the lightweight round, the 30 grain hollow point by CCI. We have a very nice group and no failures. We went with another 30 grain, the VMAX by Hornaday, no failures, and a nice group. Then we tried the Winchester, and we had a very nice group, no failures. Then we went to the 40 grain hollow point by CCI this round. That was this group. We did have a couple of flyers, and I saw these as we let them go. 8 rounds in a nice tight group, and no failures with 40 grain jacketed hollow point CCIs. Then we went to a little bit heavier round, the 45 grain Dynapoint by Winchester, and this was a miserable failure. For one, that was the first shot, and the second shot, and the third shot. None of these cycled the gun at all. So my recommendation is, if you go with a Savage A22, that you stay away from the Winchester Dynapoint for this particular firearm. So our only malfunctions so far have been with this round, and then the very first round that just didn't ignite. Then we went with another heavy round, another 45 grain, the Critical Defense. We had no failures with this round, a nice group, one little flyer over here on the side. All right, we're going with the heavyweight now. This is the Federal Game Shock. It's a 50 grain hollow point. All right, let's check our group. This is our group with the 50 grain Federal Game Shock All the rounds in one hole except for these two outliers. Kind of looks similar to the pattern that we saw with the 40 grain CCI hollow points, but no failures to function and a fairly tight group. Alright guys, I have to say that I'm pretty pleased. We've been through 8 different types of ammunition. We've gone through many different bullet types and manufacturers and bullet weights. We had one failure initially. The round failed to ignite on our very first trigger pull. After that, the gun has run very well. We found one round, the Winchester Dynapoint 45 grain hollow point. That round did not cycle this gun at all, and it had very poor accuracy. Other than that, with the 7 other bullet weights and brands of ammunition, we had no failures to feed. The only failure to fire was the very first shot. So I have to say that all in all, I am very pleased with this. I think this gun has certainly earned itself a stock upgrade. Since we forgot our chronograph anyway, what I want to do is one more field test with this rifle. We're going to look at whether the A17 Boyd's stock will go on the A22. I am told by Savage that the stocks are the same. So we're going to do a stock upgrade. I'm also going to try the 25 round magazines by Butler Creek that are designed for the A17. And we'll just see, out of curiosity, whether those 25 round magazines will work with 22 Magnum. And we'll get back out, we'll try the stock, make sure there aren't any hiccups with the magazine lockup or anything like that with the stock. We'll try the high capacity magazine just to see if there's a chance that that's going to work well. And we'll bring our chronograph out and we'll do some testing as far as muzzle velocities, looking at the A22, looking at some of the 30 grain lightweights, and I want to see what this 50 grain Game Shock by Federal is going to do out of this 21-inch barrel. I hope you found the information entertaining and useful. If you did, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And feel free to share the video. If you have any questions or comments, post those and I'll try to respond to those in a timely fashion. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. Let's see if the A17 stock is going to work on this, if the 25 round Butler Creek magazine will work, and we'll check some muzzle velocities. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next week.